Okay, now we are. Thank you, Barry. That's why it takes more than one head. All righty. Oh, hi, Olga. Thank you. Okay, yeah, 45 minutes. Got it. Maybe we can get done in 45. Who knows? Let's challenge ourselves. All right, guys. So officially we have called this to attention. It is 6:41. Let's take a look at the agenda, and please, if anyone has additions to this agenda or things to take note of, let's add it now. Anything to add, guys?
Signe, do you want to write on the agenda the two pieces of legislation that we were going to talk about tonight?
Yeah, I have that on my notes agenda, which I can share that too, I guess. Let's see.
Oh, right. The difference between this is the PDF that went around.
Right, exactly. This is my working agenda, meaning my notes for my agenda. So you can see it's kind of messy though, but we're going to talk a little old business about zoning for economic opportunity and see the answers we got from DCP and a memo. Talk about perhaps a forum, a public forum in January. And then we need to get economic development on board to get their input as well. So we'll talk a little bit about that. We took a long time last meeting, so we don't want to, overwhelm with that this meeting. Developments, Liz will give us a couple of an update on 135th there, and then we'll just mention the 133rd variance, 133rd apparently, and then our regular items, and then we'll talk about that action item at the end. Anything to add to this, guys?
No.
No? Good. All right, if any of our committee members had a chance to look at minutes, please do so. And if there's any changes, let us know. With that said, let's make introductions. We have kind of a small crew, so I think we can just say hello to everyone.
Signe,
yeah, Barry, yeah.
I realized I had one like 2 to 5 minute topic. I don't know if it should be under new business, but
Okay. What's that?
we haven't discussed this Harlem rocket nonsense, have we?
Not recently. Is it like moving forward?
It's back.
Well, all right.
You just got one?
I got one. Woohoo!
I'm writing a
but-
list.
But all important, all the same. Oh. Hi, Juan. Are you? You must be cold. Yeah, warm up. Have some cookies. Yes. Okay, Barry. Where would you like to put that? And what is
New
it?
business?
Okay. A second. Let me grab my agenda here. Oh, there we go. New business. Yes, Barry. What is the topic?
Harlem rocket proposal.
Right. Okay. All right, done. Okay. So that said, let's do some quick introductions. Welcome, everyone. My name is Signe Mortensen. I am co-chair of this committee. I live on 150th. I've been on this board about 12 years. On this committee, maybe 8, 9. Gosh, time runs quick. Proud to be here and serve with and for and with you guys. We didn't hear the voices of our community, which we're the sounding board for the voices to go up to our electeds, make sure we get what needs to happen done in our community. And my wonderful co-chair Liz is on the line virtually.
Thanks, Signe. I think I know most everyone here, but I'm Liz Waitakis. I live in an HDFC on Convent in 141. I've lived in the neighborhood, I think, for 20 years now. And I got COVID over the weekend, but the good news is I'm negative today, but still need to stay home for another day or two and hopefully feel better.
Feel better.
Okay. Good to see everyone.
Excellent. Barry, would you like to go next?
Yes, sorry.
Oh, you're eating.
It's okay. I'm Barry Weinberg. I am a member of Community Board 9 and the Housing, Zoning, and Land Use Committee. I've been on Board 9 for a little over 10 years now, I guess. And for the committee for about as long. And I currently serve as our first vice chair. I apologize for being virtual. I am in Abilene, Texas for work this week. And if you see me chewing, I also apologize, but turns out restaurants in Abilene, Texas don't stay open community board hours, so I had to grab food pre-meeting.
Gotcha. Okie doke. Juan, would you like to say hello?
Yes,
In person.
yes, I don't know how I fit in this camera, but I'm not gonna try anymore. Juan Colmenares, I'm a high school teacher, oh, there you go. I'm a high school teacher, been living here since 1993 in Harlem. 149 in Convent, and I've seen a lot of changes, and because of that, I got involved in the community board. And I'm here to help, even though I'm late or out, I've never been absent, but I'm late or. The end.
And we're glad to have you on board, Juan.
Thank you.
Let's see, do we have any other committee? I don't think so. So we'll start heading to our public members. Yes, absolutely. In just 1 second, we're gonna do committee and then.
Segue because I also have taught high school, so I would say.
Oh, yeah,
We're gonna segue off of what he said.
Oh,
That's
I'm
okay.
sorry.
That's okay.
Just 1 second, we're gonna have everyone introduce themselves. So we have what is called public members, we have community board members, and then we have what is called public members, who are folks from the public that want to get highly involved and help us out in our work. And so I'm gonna introduce a few of those next, and then we'll go to all the community, because we have a small group today. So I see Olga on the line, and you only can stay on for a little bit, so Olga, say hello. You there, Olga? Can you hear us? Okay, we'll come back to Olga. Jared, why don't you say hi?
Let's see, you hearing me now?
Oh, there we are. Yes, we hear you, Olga. Hi.
Hi, good evening, everyone. Yes, my name is Olga Salcedo. I live in C44 Riverside Drive. So everything is going well about the 142nd demolition building. They I work not enough progress, but they I work in demolition the building by park. I thought they would do like completely regular demolition building, but they didn't. They are working very careful, so.
Okay, well, gotcha. Well, I think we just got your video, so we'll take a look at that. Thanks, Olga.
Okay, welcome.
And then Jared. Hi, Jared.
Yeah, hi. I'm Jared Knowles. I've been in the neighborhood, I guess, about 15 years now. 706 Riverside. I'm still at work, so hopefully it'll be a quick meeting tonight. Thanks.
We heard some of that. The train went by, of course. And then I see another community board member. Just gonna ask Heather Jason. Hi, Heather. Can you say hello?
Oh, hi, everyone. Sorry. Heather, I live in Sugar Hill. I've been on the community board for 4 years. Co-chair of the Landmarks Preservation and Parks Committee, and I also sit on the Health and Environment Committee. Thank you. And I don't know if I'll be able to last the entire meeting, but just wanted to pop in. Thanks.
Understood. We work pretty closely with Heather's committee, so. Let's see, I don't think I see any more community board members. I see Tiffany, she's honorary because she just was with us. Why don't you say hi, Tiffany?
Hi, everyone. Happy early Christmas, Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, among others.
Thank you. Let's see, and now, so I'd like to have our community members introduce yourself, just say your name and, you know, if you want to, if you're from a group or you have a certain interest, let us know that. Otherwise, just tell us a little bit.
Yes, my name is Darrell Miller. As I alluded to, I taught in the public school system, in high school and different levels of the school system. Before that, I was involved in journalism. And I grew up in the community. I was born, you know, I've lived here all my life,
Okay.
from 1949.
You gave away,
Yes.
you gave it away.
Yes, yes. So I've seen a lot of things change on Convent Avenue.
Oh, yeah, that's a big change. Yeah.
Radical changes occurring. I'm concerned about what's going on. There's a lot of properties that seem to be in purgatory right now. Renovations, restorations occurring, but no one living in the buildings. It's just a very eerie period that I'm observing right now in my immediate neighborhood, Convent Avenue. And as I alluded to in the meeting over the summer, there are plans for Amsterdam Avenue, the big building that's proposed for the corner of 145th and Amsterdam. And that's a concern too. I know there's a lot of dialogue about that and push-pull going on there.
Yeah.
So I just want to see what's going on and share my observations and also learn some of the other priorities of the community, because I haven't really I've been in and out. I've participated in block associations here, and then I drop off and then I come back. So I don't really know everything. So
It's the way of volunteering. People
Yes.
come in and out, and
Yes,
just so everybody knows, the community board members, we're volunteers. We're doing volunteer time. We're appointed by either our borough president or our local council members. But it's all volunteer for us too. So, you know, it's but that's, you know, that's part of the gig. We're doing it because we want to do it. So thank you, Darrell, for coming and bringing your voice. That's what we want. So
thank you.
let's see, who else here? We have Brenda. Hi, Brenda. It's good to see your face. Well, see your picture of your face. Say hello.
Hello. Can
Hi,
you hear
Brenda.
me?
We can. Hi.
Hi, good to see everybody. My name is Reverend Brenda Price. I have a dual membership, so to speak. I live in the community off and on all of my life. I'm also a member of the Convent Avenue Baptist Church, which straddles Community Board number 9 and number 10. So I'm glad to see everybody again.
Thank you, Brenda. Thank you for having your presence here. I see Fida. Is it Fida? Would you like to say hello to us? Hi, Fida. Maybe. Well, Fida, if you would like to say hello, we'd love to hear from you. Just unmute and let us know. But we'll go to, oh, I see Zoya is here from Al Taylor's office. Why don't you say hi, Zoya? You there, Zoya? Well, Zoya is representing our Assembly member Al Taylor tonight, so she might have stepped away, or is struggling to get her mic off, but we'll talk to Zoya a little later, I guess. Let's see, did I miss anyone other than Jose and Audrey? Oh, it looks like she dropped off.
Hi, everyone.
Okay. Yes, there we go. Audrey, you go next, and then Jose.
Sure. My name is Audrey Walks. I'm a borough planner at TCP, and I work with Community Board 9 as well as Community Board 12 in Manhattan.
Awesome.
Hi, everyone. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Great.
Hi.
Jose Trucios here, planning team leader, working after Manhattan. So, we're happy to be here to answer any questions or clarifying information regarding the Zoning for Economic Opportunity text amendment. We sent questions or responses to your questions last week, I believe. So if there are any clarification or anything that you need in order to draft your resolutions, please let us know. We're here tonight with Audrey, and we have the worksheet that we also sent to you guys that I think is a very helpful tool for visualizing the 18 proposals, because it might be a little bit hard to absorb all the things that are changing, but with that worksheet makes it a little more visible to be able to draft what you need to change, modify, or perhaps respond to for each of the 18 proposals. So we're here.
Thanks. Yeah, we're gonna go through your memo tonight just to take a look at that and make sure everybody sees the answers that you provided to some of the questions. All right, I think, did I miss anyone? If FIDA wants to say hello, please do. Otherwise, I think we covered everyone for introductions. Nice to be able to introduce everyone. Usually we can't, too many people. Wish you were all here because I have snacks, lots of snacks. It's too bad you cannot have cookies and candy, but next time, that's your enticement. Come. All right, so I'm expecting Annette a little bit later. Hopefully she'll be coming soon. And when she does, we'll have her say hello. Let's see. We don't have any presentations tonight. Next month we will, but not tonight. Last month we did have Jose and Audrey present the zoning for economic opportunity, which we're going to talk about under old business. But new business, Barry has asked to talk about Harlem Rocket proposal, which sounds like it's back in our plate and back on the burner here. Barry, would you like to talk a little bit about what the progress is there, if there is progress, and what's going on, and how we as a committee need to discuss?
Yes. So a slight amount of background. The Harlem Rocket was something that is a proposal by a private developer for the West Harlem Piers that was first kind of brought to our attention in early 2023 in the media. And one of the more notable features of the proposal included a Ferris wheel at the piers.
Yeah.
Which, we were not thrilled about, and rather shocked that we were seeing this in the news. Anyway, so the part of that plan also involved a high-speed water boat tour of the Hudson River, which is launching apparently next summer. It appears that this is something that has been coordinated with the pier, not harbor master, but dock master. And so I just wanted to flag for folks that this has come up, and it's also been confused recently with a discussion that occurred at Mount Olivet Baptist Church from the Harlem Interfaith Council on Housing. But the two did not have anything to do with each other. And so I spoke to one of the board members of that group, and they assured us that it did not have anything to do with Harlem Rocket, but that they were concerned about Columbia's expansion on the waterfront beyond what had been initially agreed upon and understood back in like 2009. So for example, the acquisition of the Fairway site. So I think it behooves us to re-engage with Columbia on the Fairway site. While I was chair, we had a verbal agreement that they would renovate the building to bring it up to code and then lease it to a supermarket, to return that site to being used as a supermarket. So I will encourage Victor to have those discussions again and confirm that that's still the plan. But we would also probably want to make sure that we work with our West Harlem Piers Committee to make it very clear that, number one, anything that happens on those piers happens in coordination with the community board, which got them built. And number two, doesn't impact, the public's ability to use them as a very popular park, which is what it currently is. And it is full to the brim in the summers of folks. So one of the three parts of the proposal is apparently happening, maybe. But there is a lot of push and talk about talk about it, and Columbia has been approached by the Harlem Rocket folks repeatedly to attempt to engage them in some sort of collaboration, which I don't think we want to allow it to happen without our comment. So that just putting it on folks' radar, and I think it would make sense for us to coordinate with the Economic Development West Harlem Peers committee on this.
Yeah,
And
we have a couple of things to work with them on, like including the zoning for economic opportunities. So maybe next month for their meeting or our meeting, we can do a joint meeting. And we also should have a joint forum about the ZEO. So let's talk about that maybe offline with Audrey and Jose, you guys, so we can find a way to make sure we get more community faces talking about this zoning for economic opportunity. All right, so we'll talk to Economic Development Committee about maybe joining together next month.
Signe.
Yeah, Liz.
I just wanted to ask Barry. Barry, what you said something about a harbor czar. What is the city process to approve businesses that engage the waterfront?
I don't know. That is not something I am totally up to speed on. I was referencing the dock master. I believe the city contracts with a private company that manages the piers, or pier master, whatever it is. And like the pier master were the ones who signed the agreement with the Baylander those years ago, without any kind of heads up to us. And so obviously that's more of a counterpart for our colleagues on the Economic Development West Harlem Peers Committee, but it sounds like a similar history may repeat itself a little bit there. And yeah, we should make sure everybody's on their toes.
Yeah.
What cross street is this near?
For what we're talking about, 125th?
It's 125th.
Yeah, so we're talking about the Harlem Piers on near 125th, where the fairway was, right? The park across the way. Yeah, the fairways
Under the,
yeah, but the piers are right across the street from there, and they're talking about the water tours and the Ferris wheel up it. So yeah. Yeah,
That is so ridiculous.
I know.
but they have a boat there that,
Yeah, it's like a restaurant. Yeah. That's been there for a while, and not huge disruption with that, but yeah, we've expressed our concern. But all right, next on the agenda here. Thank you, Barry. Thank you. Old business. So yeah, so for zoning for economic opportunity, Jose and Audrey are here from DCP tonight. They presented last month, and we had very lengthy discussions about it. So we don't want to go into the details that we did then, but happy to share the document that they put together outlining all the changes. This is a text amendment to our zoning in the city that is being proposed by the mayor, part of the City of Yes proposal, and this is a part of that called zoning for economic opportunity. It's quite long, it's very lengthy, a lot to chew. Audrey and Jose, as you know, I'm sure you've gotten that feedback from a lot of community boards. And so I know the deadline has been extended, Audrey and Jose, and it sounds like it is now February, right? So what dates are we talking now? Or community board input is what we're looking for, right?
Yeah, so we'll accept any resolutions or letters that you have up until the right before the commissioners vote. So I believe, I'm just pulling up the letter here, but I think that's no later than the first week of February.
Right. And we're talking about the first week of February is the first review session of February, which will be February 5th. Now that date hasn't been completely confirmed or finalized. That's what we're aiming for. So I'm recommending boards to submit their resolutions by January 31st, just to be in the safe side. If we hear from our leadership that this might be extended to the next review session, I believe, is the 20th of February or 13. I'm not 100% sure which one is it. It might be, a little more time for your submissions, but just wanted to assure that the commission will review all recommendations and resolutions. We're making time to ensure that these comments are present. I think also the questions that we sent back to you was put together by our team, leadership, and also reviewed by our RGA team. It was shared recently with City Hall as today, to ensure that we are properly going through all these channels of communication.
Okay. So we had a lot of questions last time you came and presented, and I know you sent this memo. Hold on 1 second. And I can't maneuver very easily on my screen. Okay, there we go. So this memo, it looks like you've combined questions from 9, 10, 11, and 12. And
George James.
And what?
And questions for George James as well.
Oh, okay, all right. Committee members and members of the public that were there last month and had questions. There are some clarifications here, which are lengthy as well. We just wanted to make sure everybody was aware of this, and if you haven't gotten a copy of this to review the answers, please let me know. I think I sent it around to all the committee members.
Signe, just for before we really dig in, how long do you want to go on this topic?
No, I don't really want to go long unless what I really want to, if there were like, let's say 4 outstanding questions from last time that we can clarify tonight. How about that? And then people need to review on their own, and then we need to set up, let's see if we can get on economic developments meeting. When is it? What day is it? Hold on. If anybody can get to the calendar quicker than me, let me know. Can't find, let's try again. There we go.
It would be the first Tuesday, so 2nd January.
First Tuesday. Oh, hi. Hey there,
Hi.
hon.
Hey, David.
Hey, how's everybody doing?
Hey, pretty good. Nice to see you. Hey, David, say hello. Say who you are. We're a small group tonight, so just introduce yourself. Good to
Hi,
see
how you
you.
doing? Yeah, good to see you. Sorry, I was on a work call. I apologize. David Hansel was a former community board member and still active where I am, how I can. So nice to see everybody.
Excellent. We missed you.
Yep.
Hi, Signe. I don't have sharing capabilities right now on my end, but one thing that was really helpful for our partners in Community Board 12 was seeing the proposals, and I was wondering if you could share that with the members of the board, so we can at least, perhaps now say which ones are the topics that perhaps need further attention, or we can focus on those particular answers of the proposal that we had outlined. I don't know if you had that worksheet with you. I have it on my end. I'm happy to share my screen, but I'm not having the capability on my end right now.
Let me make sure that share screen is on.
Mm-hmm.
You should be able to share your screen.
Oh, I think it's because you're sharing it. You're sharing something right now.
Yeah, no, sure.
Mm-hmm.
I'll stop sharing. Hold on. There you go. Yes, please do.
Oh, let's see if this works. And where is my Acrobat? Is it this one? Hold on. Yep, this one. Not sure. Let me see. Can you guys see the screen now?
Yep.
Yeah. All right. So I'm just gonna make it a little bit smaller so we can see the 18 proposals. So we have in this list we can go by force and the the amount of the ones that we had, and potentially if you highlight what are the ones that you, I mean, no, we don't have to say we support or not support right now, but we can put a click on the ones that we need to look at the answers, so we can potentially have those clarify a little more if that's something you would like to do. So we're gonna start with reactivated storefronts. I don't believe CB9 have many questions about this one.
I don't think we're prepared at all at this time to go through this of what we support or do not support. I mean,
No, I'm saying not getting into the support or not support, but I'm saying which ones will need like for you further clarification, because we sent some questions, and rather to go one by those questions one by one, if like there's some topics that you needed further, you know, discussion or answers from us, we can just identify them here right now and go to the actual, you know, questions after that. But I don't know if that's not.
yeah, I think we just need time to read a 1,200 page document, legal document, not, not, PDF of graphics. Like, there's a lot more to this than just whether we're for or against. It's actually looking at the code. I think we just need time. It's a lot.
Yeah.
It is a lot.
Yeah, and I mean, we're in holiday season, and then it sounds like we have.
So
yeah.
I think it's a lot. It's a lot for the community board to review. And the last meeting, we had twice as many people, and that still is not a good representation of the number of people who are in this community. And now we have half as many people. And I think, while we can talk about it here, I don't think this is the best use of our time. I think we as a community board need to take time to like go through it very carefully, organize ourselves, organize the community, and come back to you with a response. I think, I don't even know if we'll be able to do it by the end of January, but
I know I'm very worried still worried about the timeline, even into January. So
Barry has his hand up.
Barry, you have your hand up.
Yes, thank you. I agree, but I do have two questions that maybe we could just get out tonight. The first is kind of if you can just bring back that list of proposals, and you answered these, a number of your follow-up answers to our questions touched on these, but particularly for things involving small-scale production, home-based, like upper floor commercial, urban agriculture, home-based, and life sciences. We had questions about the potential nuisance impacts on residents who would necessarily be closer to these if it were coming from a home-based building, or in our district, virtually all of our commercially zoned or used square footage is below a residential building, like a first floor retail situation. So in a number of your answers to our follow-up questions, when we asked, well, how do we make sure that a business doesn't produce fumes or particulate matter or disruptive noise, there was a lot of mention of the Department of Buildings as kind of the main enforcer for some of these. But we've seen, especially with rent-regulated units, that DOB does not always do a good job talking to other agencies where it should be coordinating. So, for example, a lot of the Frankensteining problems and the, unit size changes that have happened in some buildings that were illegal, DOB has just approved them because they didn't think to consider whether or not the rent laws allowed for these modifications. They just approved them based on the building permit applications. And so I guess if I wanted to open a business in my home, what would the process be, or for going to a like to get a DOB permit for something like that? And understandably, I'm not talking about like cutting people's hair in my home or an interior design in my home, but like, let's say I was making some sort of ceramics that produced a fume when I forget we painted them. Yeah, I forget the term for painting a ceramic, but that, like how would the city deal with complaints from my neighbors about those fumes?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think for, something for like firing and glazing ceramics, there's no, apartment that would be equipped to, you just don't have the, the capacity in your apartment to run something, like that. And so, I would say for more intensive uses, those are not, if you're using heavy machinery to manufacture something, that would, still, that is now inappropriate and still would be inappropriate, under the proposed zoning. It's really meant for, people who have, as you were saying, like, barber shops or barbers or architects or people, who are, going to have businesses that don't interfere with, other neighbors' quiet enjoyment of their.
Well, let me repose it. Like, let's say I make a really great jalapeno salsa and my
Yes.
friends love it. I give it to people for Christmas and I decide to like do a little side business making jars of it in my kitchen and selling them. But it turns out jalapenos generate a lot of like actually irritating fumes that can go to neighboring apartments above or next to me. If you're my neighbor, how do you get the city to either force the mitigation of that negative impact or put a stop to the activity causing it?
Yeah. That would be, we're not an enforcement agency. And so that would be, a DOB call or a 311 call. I will also say that, any type of provision you have, with your co-op board or in your lease or an agreement between you and your landlord, that would either permit or not permit a home-based business, that, provision would supersede the home-based business zoning.
Yeah, and another also thing I wanted to add, I think this is where we are right now, right? This is a proposal. That doesn't mean that, in ideal world, this will go, we say, oh my God, this is so perfect, let's do it. But we are talking to all 59 community boards to ask for recommendations and modifications. And I think, we could say, yes, we support the, expansion of home occupation, moving to the future. So, but let's make sure that there's a new process for the Department of Buildings for enforcement. I keep going back to, open restaurants when we brought that proposal to the community board and there was no plan for actually, what the open restaurants were going to look like. I was, the person from Manhattan who had to present to all 12 community boards. And, I went back and we're like constantly asking what is going to happen. And I think through this process of the public review, we were able to, put the ball in DOT's court and ensure that they were, kicking off the plan before the actual text amendment was approved. And I think that is something that I want to highlight. I think it's something that we can request in a modification, we can request in your resolution to say potentially, some sort of mitigation, some sort of criteria needs to be created and needs to be shared with the, the community boards. It needs to be part of the Southern, like typically that language is not going to be in the Southern resolution. We had questions as Audrey was mentioning, what is to be a good neighbor, right? Like I could consider my neighbors to be great, or I could consider it to be terrible, depending on my own, ability. But if the Department of Building has such a criteria, if DEP has such a criteria, to make sure that I either one, share with the public to make sure that what are we looking at, and two, potentially revise for these new uses that might be coming up. And the layer of, being in most of a renter oriented type of, city will have the landlord, situation where like what is allowed, what is not allowed in the department, in the apartment.
I have a follow-up on the DOB thing and then a separate question. The follow-up super quickly, in the example you showed us at the top of the page, for clean businesses in retail spaces, you said that a business like opening in a retail space would have to get a certificate of occupancy from the DOB. I thought C of Os were only for either newly built buildings or if you were modifying like the number of apartments on a floor or the number of retail spaces, does every business that like, you know, if I rent out a space and, you know, put in my juice bar, do I have to get a C of O from the DOB currently for getting all this City of Yes stuff?
That's a good question. Let me check on that.
And then the final question, unrelated to DOB finally, is and I'm sorry, maybe, and if other folks understood the answer, then I'll shut up and I'll ask you offline, committee members. But the answer to the micro distribution stuff, can you just explain like what these sites are envisioned to be and how the packages get there to these micro distribution sites, and then how packages get either picked up or sent out for delivery from them?
Sorry.
Is it Jose talking or Audrey or not? Nobody talking?
Yeah, sorry, you cut you cut out for a second. Could you just repeat the second part of your question?
It was, so let's say I'm opening a micro distribution site on 138th and Broadway in a retail space below a residential space.
Mm-hmm.
How do packages get to my micro distribution site? And then how do I get them to the people that they're ultimately destined for? Or do I not yet know who they're destined for, and then people like place an order and it's pre-positioned in my site and it gets delivered out of inventory there? Like, what are these sites and how do they work?
Mm-hmm. So this new, like the proposed new micro distribution use, would replace an existing use, which I think is, I don't know the use group, but it's the moving and storage office use group. And that use group is most similar to like an online grocery micro fulfillment center. So I don't want to speak with 100% confidence, but I can speak with 85% confidence that they would be brought in, you know, in a traditional way, you know, via, you know, truck, and then be, you know, transported small distances, short distances, throughout the neighborhood by alternative means.
Yeah, and you pasted the letter of support from the Department of Transportation. You know, they don't get to the whole process of how this will actually play out, but they do emphasize it will be through multiple alternatives, you know, alternate modes of transportation. So the idea is to encourage the more, you know, perhaps saying one big truck coming to this micro distribution and then having a smaller, you know, either like bike deliveries or, you know, similar how we do the commercial loadings right now, which a lot of, you know, we could be in support or against that sometimes. I heard both sides of the spectrum with the commercial loading and unloading, but that is similar to, you know, what is proposed.
Jose, I was just trying to click on some things in your memo, and a lot of stuff is coming out broken links, just so you know.
I realize that
it's
the period in it.
Yeah, if you take the period off the end of the link, which was from the sentence the link was in, yeah, I ran into that.
Okay, thank you. Okay, just was trying.
I believe
see
it might have
in
been the
chat, but...
right. The autocorrect perhaps had a period in all of the links and broke them. I'm sorry, I apologize for that.
No worries, no worries. Well, just want to pause for 2 seconds because our chair of Community Board 9 just walked in, and I want him to introduce himself and say hello.
Yes, good evening all. My name is Victor Edwards. I have the pleasure of serving as chair of Community Board 9. I'm very interested in this committee, particularly because things are changing very rapidly in the area. So we're keeping a very close eye on developments in housing, land use, and zoning area. And thank you for attending, and thank you for your presentations.
Cool. So last month, Audrey and Jose presented a very full discussion and presentation. It is a 1,200-page document, and we're very worried about getting through it all and trying to give some sort of coherent answer by end of January, looks like our deadline. Right now, we're saying, you know, we need to get with the Economic Development Committee because this concerns them. Maybe we can have a joint meeting. Apparently the next meeting for them is January 2nd, which is very quickly after the new year. I personally would not be able to attend that meeting. Team, are there any specific questions for Audrey and Jose tonight? Our team, we need to take a deep dive into this together, I think. Liz, I'm thinking, is there any way we can separate some of this out? I don't know. Oh, I see Brenda just raised her hand too. Brenda, do you have a question?
Yes, I do. I was here for part of the lengthy discussion last month, and I didn't know it was part of 120 pages. But
that's 1,200, Brenda. 1,200.
Yeah, my question is this: if the proposal or plan were accepted, what is your vision of what the city would look like because of it?
That's a good question. Thank you for that one. I think that so I'm going to start out at the macro level, which is to say, and I think we touched on this briefly at the last meeting, but I think it's an important point that's worth reiterating, is that the current zoning resolution is from 1960, is from the early 1960s, 1961. And at the time, you know, there were uses and activities in the city, you know, that no one, you know, that we don't use today. And then on the flip side, there's also, you know, things that could have never been anticipated in the 60s. And so, you know, this is an update to, you know, those 60-year-old rules, and hopefully, you know, they're meant to look not only to 5 or 10 years from now, but a few decades from now. And so, you know, we don't know whether, you know, for example, there are some provisions like allowing urban agriculture, let's say in parts of certain commercial districts, you know, that might not be economically viable in all places right now, but maybe in 2050, who knows? So that's, I think that's the overarching intention. And then as far as, you know, more micro intentions, there's, you know, certain industries that we would like to assist, you know, in their growth through zoning if possible. And others that, you know, I think we had someone who was a small business owner at the last meeting who was saying how frustrating it is to run a small business in New York. And that's, you know, feedback we've been getting from a lot of folks that we've talked to in the drafting of this proposal. And so, you know, it's trying to make those, you know, regulations a little easier for business owners to understand and comply with as well. Does that answer your question? I'm happy to say more or clarify anything if you'd like.
So basically it's updating zoning laws for what possibly perhaps maybe the future will hold.
And it's also, you know, adding the flexibility for these businesses. I would say also, you know, making it easier for not just businesses to be able to open faster and interpret the zoning, but also enforcing agencies like DOT, like DOB, who, you know, it might be so confusing in terms of either grandfathering businesses, the type of uses, the type of, you know, zoning districts that are so confusing between the sizing, and making it a more cohesive for agencies to also understand when to like either fine or either issue a citation or violation. There are often many cases where we've seen, you know, businesses getting this fine, but they were actually able to go and fight the process of getting those violations overruled. A lot of businesses are not able to do that given, you know, time constraints of how like time consuming is running a business, and they rather just pay the fine and continue to do business as usual. So facilitating that, it also reemphasizing that this is part of the City of Jay's proposal, which had a citywide tax amendment, carbon neutrality, which was all about, ensuring that we're moving forward with new green infrastructure and energy, and now the economic opportunity to, unlock economic potential, and then it's coming housing opportunity. And we see these three tax amendment playing together and side by side by ensuring that, we have, buildings that are more eco-friendly, and we have businesses that are thriving, in places where housing is also, being developed. And with, I don't know how many of you have been part of the info sessions for housing affordability, but we are talking about increasing densities through universal affordability. I forget. I always forget that the acronym, but preference. So ensuring that these businesses are able to meet the added density within New York, within the city as well, is important. But second, everything that Audrey has said, I think our intention is we don't predict the future, but we can prepare for it to add flexibility. Right now, the zoning that we have has been so restricted that that's the kind of like answer for how many special districts we have around the city. And making it overcomplicated sometimes for other places to thrive and be able to be more of this serving neighborhoods that we want to see in the city.
So you would be the plan would be allowing for greater density in the city of 8.9 million people, and then updating zoning laws, and providing for certain growth of certain industries. It sounds like you're also looking to do more small businesses, support more small businesses. Is that right?
Right. Simplifying the application process, right now, if you are a small business, it's likely that you will need a land use attorney to go through the whole process of applying for zoning, not just the business side, but the zoning side and all those parameters is extremely complicated. I have been working at ACP for 4 years, and I still get confused reading the zoning resolution. And all these changes, I was a little worried at the beginning when I was reading this text amendment, but I don't know how many of you have able to see the annotated text, but we have removed that table, what it had before, which says in C1 to C5, these uses are allowed, and you had a little X in between, and then you had to go through see what use groups were under that particular, zoning district. And after doing it for 4 years, I got used to it, but we're removing all of that. And, my brain was at first like, so how will I know what is allowed and what is not allowed anymore, right? But it is making it easier just to know that from C1 to C4, all of these uses are the same. And there is more like prescriptive language within the zoning district where it says when a requested or further analysis or further, I don't want to say the word hurdles, but further provisions are added to that particular use in a particular district. So I'm getting to, getting familiar with the new text, but, I share with you, it's a lot of pages. I applaud all the community boards and all the members who are definitely doing this truly and reading the text. And, we have worked with George James, who's, I'm seeing here, but I think in pretty much all the other community boards attending the meetings, asking the hard questions. And, we do appreciate that feedback that's coming from Manhattan, especially.
So finally, does this proposal plan seek to simplify, adjust, or just add to the current laws?
I think it's a bit of both.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I think that's something, just to share like a quick anecdote. We have an agency basically there's a public number that people can call if they have zoning questions. I think most of the agency is, takes turns staffing this phone line. And we get questions like, someone had a claw machine rental business, like the arcade games, like the claws. And they also wanted to have some like games, amusements on site. And so, you know, 3 senior zoning people and 2 people who were fielding this call took, I think, about, 30 minutes to try to figure out what, where this person could potentially open their business, because the use groups for amusements, for example, are outdated and complicated and don't really allow for these hybrid businesses. So it's trying to, it's simplifying it by adding more rules and taking away some that we've seen in our experience are just confusing for us, confusing for business owners, and and our I'll stop there.
So I don't want to take another 2 hours on this tonight, but I think our committee needs to meet with economic development and Liz, Barry, Vic. This is a big project, so if we can have maybe a discussion offline about how to approach this and how to attack this, because just one brain is not going to do it. So I see Tiffany's hand. Tiffany, you're going to be the last question if you have one for Audrey and Jose, and then we want to move on. So we'll talk more offline. Yeah, Tiffany.
Yes. Hi, Audrey.
Hi.
During the last meeting, I was the person, the business owner that you mentioned just now, who had asked the question, what sort of research you did in Harlem specifically, or neighborhoods like Harlem. What sort of engagement did you do with business owners in this neighborhood to come to the conclusion that zoning was the biggest or one of the biggest impediments to operating a business? Have you had any progress with that research? What have you done since then?
Yeah, so I mean, Jose, actually, do you want to field this for a sec?
Oh yeah, I'm unmuted. Yes, great. I can start. I think part of this is building off the research of other agencies, so small business services, I always butcher their actual name, but DCWA, the Department of Workers and Consumer Protections, and years of many reports the city has put together on like streamlining the process for opening businesses, relying on that information and going through what zoning can do to ease that the burden on businesses. So year after year, I mean, even through the old administration, and I used to work at the Department of Small Business Services, and we had worked on this in the past on deregulation and consolidating the first 10 top agencies that you need to get permits from into one. There has been many efforts by the city to do that, and it has come to the Department of City Planning, and a lot of these things have been said that the zoning is overly complicated, and we need to do something to ensure that this is easily accessible for more New Yorkers. And so in terms of like doing one-on-one research in the Department of City Planning, we have not do that. We're relying on information from like I say, sister agencies, also looking at WXY data, who are the our consultant from the city as well on surveying of vacant stores, and there's a lot of other more information in there. And taking the step further, so we're taking information from the public itself, not just in businesses directly, but we're looking to see how this will affect New Yorkers, because we know that zoning is not just a tool. I think we discussed this before, on rent regulation, on perhaps incentives to open businesses, but that's not something that the Department of City Planning can do. So we're looking internally at what we can do for us to help other businesses thrive. And zoning is perhaps the most influential tool that we have at the Department of City Planning to do this change. We had done countless hours of public outreach in terms of info sessions, meetings with business improvement districts, meetings with I believe chambers of commerce and other groups. They're all listed in our website, and not just listed, but they're recorded sessions. Their letter of support from them. I just share one of the letter of support from the Department of Transportation, but there's a lot more information in there for our outreach. I just want to emphasize that I think we had asked this question about our businesses really saying that this is the biggest issue. We're thinking holistically about these neighborhoods and how this, impact, because when we talk about home occupations, right, like that's not just our businesses, it's also everybody who's living in the area, talking about, commercial about residential, that impacts anybody who's going to be living in the building and perhaps a neighbor. So we're trying to get information from everyone. And to do that, we just, rely a lot on the community board, but we also have been doing massive email search to everyone who can get our, information and hosting these meetings and being available as, to many meetings as we can. I have been in perhaps all of the meetings in Manhattan so far, and just getting information, trying to get all these questions to make sure I'm passing this along to, our senior leadership.
Could you please share some of those articles that you mentioned? You said, for example, DWCP, SBS, because I have to reiterate that the primary reason why a lot of small businesses are closing, as far as I have seen, is because of soaring rents. That's it, not zoning. So thank you.
And another one, want to get it back and forth, but there's the same question. There's the same thing that we're going to get, and we're preparing also for housing opportunity. We're saying, like a lot of issues with the housing here is they're so expensive. And, the tool that we have is not to deregulate rent, but it's also to allow the more production of housing. So, trying to see the tools that we have in here in order to make sure that we can, solve that issue or at least mitigate it somehow. But I'll pass it along. I actually was just, talking to our colleagues that were working on this on a recent report that I think was 2018, and it was listed on the analysis for how zoning overcomplicates the business process. So I'll pass along those to Les and Signy so they can distribute it with the board.
Oh my God, I'm dying to say something.
Yes.
Okay, so you keep going back to things that you want to talk about when we are asking you to look at it differently. So I'll give you a very clear example. On 145th between Broadway and Amsterdam, there used to be a liquor store owned by Korean people, and they had a spot on the corner, and they were overpriced, so they had to move into the street. And then they left that lot vacant and they went to a new store, smaller, right? And guess who took over the previous store that they had? Do you ever walk down the streets in Harlem when you talk about how we can open business for people? Have you walked? Last time I asked you if you walked on Broadway. So I'm gonna tell you what happened. So Starbucks took over that site. Why did Starbucks take over? Because they're a corporation that can afford insane amounts of rent. Do you understand that? It's a rhetorical question. Let's move on. Let's move on. We had enough time for this. Let's move on. Thank you.
What is being done about rent regulation right now? That is our question, right? So the bottom line is we don't see that being addressed in tandem with this. So, yeah. Yeah, the Starbucks is new. That is brand new. They've come, they've entered. Please continue to go to your small coffee shops. That's all I'm gonna say about that. And just want to say Annette Robinson just walked in the door. Annette. Good evening, everyone. Good evening. And not a problem, Annette. Annette, you didn't help us meet a quorum, but that's okay. Darn it. But we're glad you're here either way. Have some snacks, have some rugelach. I see that you got some there. Okay. We do need to move on, but we've got so much work to do on this. We're gonna ask the committee and develop the economic development and all community board members to help us out with this. 1,200 pages, it's a lot. So I think Barry, Liz, Vic, if we can have a discussion about how we're going to attack this offline before end of year here, during exec meetings, maybe talk about how we're going to attack a bit. Yeah. Yes. Okay. thank you. UN, is it on this
Yeah,
topic?
quick,
or
quick question.
Okay,
Is
yep.
the document online someplace? Somewhere?
Which document? The
It's just at a
presentation that you showed
1,200
us?
page document.
Oh, yes. Jose, why don't you put in the chat or put somewhere where the full document and full text amendment is?
And just a quick comment, does the, or maybe it's a question, I don't know. Does the zoning text amendment have any sort of guidelines or assurances that, especially on commercial corridors, managing too much of the same thing? I don't know how.
I think we call it oversaturation in here. Sometimes we had talk about that, and I think it's being done through fresh stores and other businesses like that, where we're talking about those particular businesses. I would have to dig a little
or the
more.
smoke shops that are popping up and the cannabis dispensaries,
Mhm.
you know, does the text amendment protect against too many too many of the same types of businesses on a block?
No, I don't. That's a no for sure, but I don't know if it's like that was something that could be incorporated as
Well,
part of one of your
it might be
recommendations.
helpful, you know, in terms of community development and having the right mix and balance of services to the community.
Mhm.
You know, especially on Amsterdam Avenue, now a lot of the commercial storefronts are being taken over by social services, which is pretty much killing any kind of commercial activity and revitalization, not to mention a decrease in neighborhood services other than health services to the community. So while we're making it easier for businesses to open, I think there should be the types of businesses should be managed somehow by the text amendment. Thank you.
Okay,
Thank
thanks, UN. All right, we'll follow up. So moving along, next item that we have is some of our legislation we're watching. So there's a couple of things that were brought to our attention that we just want to bring to your attention. One is about a tax break repeal for a couple of universities, big ones. So we'll take a look at that. The other one is about taking Wall Street out of real estate. Wall Street, you know, corporations buying up houses like the one next door to you, selling them and putting them up as our Airbnbs, things like that. So let's take a look. I have a couple of articles. I'll share my screen here. To find it. Are you trying to find things on here? There it is. Okay. So starting with, here's an article about this. Columbia and NYU would lose $327 million in tax breaks under proposal. So there's a new proposal that has been unveiled about a tax break repeal. So meaning taking away some tax breaks from Columbia and New York University. Require the private universities to start paying their full annual property taxes for the money to be redistributed to CUNY, the largest urban public university system in the country. So we wanted to bring this to your attention, get your thoughts. The bill itself is found here. You can see who is the co-sponsor here, our very own Cordell Clear. If I'll put the link to this in the chat if anybody wants to take more of a look. It might be something that we want to put our letter. Yeah, thank you, Tiffany. I was just gonna say it might be something we want to put a letter of support, a reso, something together to put our backing behind it if we are in agreement. And it sounds like this is something we want to do. committee members in attendance, is this something we want to do? Say yay or nay?
Yes.
Public members, is this something we want to do? Yay or nay? We can't officially put it in as a vote, but we can put it into the minutes.
I would just request that we be given a
Yes.
chance to read it.
Yes, of course, very understood.
Which maybe other people already have, but I have not.
I am putting the bill itself is in there in the chat right now. Okay.
It would be good if Cordell Claire or someone from her office could be at either exec or the full board meeting and just speak to this bill, since they are the largest land owner in our
Good
district.
call.
It would be good to hear directly from them, because this is a large portion of our neighborhood.
Yeah.
I think that's great, unless CUNY doesn't do, in terms of eminent domain and steamrolling over.
Well, we have
buildings on
more
the periphery.
control over CUNY because of the public university, right?
And NYU did a whole eminent
Yeah.
domain thing.
It's
on the-
up here too, yeah.
Yeah, on the brownstones overlooking Washington Square Park. And they were iconic buildings that just done away with.
Raised.
Yeah, so I would hope CUNY wouldn't do that.
And
up
of
here.
course, we have our own story of that with Columbia, so.
Yeah.
I think there, being a public university, I would hope we have a little bit more control over that. But, and understood, that needs to be brought up, into the thought process too. Right now, this bill is only proposing Columbia and NYU, but then those profits would go to CUNY. So maybe there needs to be something, if we do write something on this, something saying with major watching over of what happens with that, and stipulations of what that's used for. Maybe, it's not used for development of land, it's used for education, something like that, right? We can put whatever we want into the letter of support or a reso or whatever we say we want to do, but everybody, I just put it in the chat. Please take a thorough look. Let's have somebody from Cordell's office come and chat with us. Okay, thank you, Vic.
Can you send me that as well?
Absolutely. We'll talk further and see what we do there. Okay, so the other one is this one here. No, gotta do it on my computer, not that computer. Okay. That's the challenges of having two computers that you're using at the same time. Now this one is another new legislation proposing to take Wall Street out of the housing market. So preventing hedge funds from owning single family houses in the US seems like a no-brainer to me. Democrats have introduced this bill in both houses to ban hedge funds from buying and owning single family homes. Another one that we possibly want to comment on. So I will put that in the chat. This is an article about it, the actual bill. It's right here.
Yeah, it's very interesting in that it says hedge funds in the title, but it also includes something known as a real estate investment trust, which actually tends to own a lot more single family homes than a hedge fund would. So there was an article recently about some REITs that owned a number of brownstones, mostly in Brooklyn, and the impacts that had on the people living there. I'll see if I can find that and put it in the chat.
I have a hedge fund who owns two of the row houses next to me. And they were renting them out. One of them, I think, was on like Airbnb or something, but then the Airbnb law went into effect in September or October, whatever, and there are still people in and out of this damn building. And I don't know why. I can't figure out where it's being listed. But they are still getting around it. And I just think, one of them is sitting empty. The other one has like people in it like 2 days a week. It's an entire 4-story brownstone.
Which brownstone list?
And here we are struggling to find
right. It's the two right next to me on 141. And
But it looks like In other states, it's worse. They buy whole blocks.
And I can tell you, I mean,
They
this
just
is
rent-
not
Go ahead, Liz. Go ahead, Liz.
it's not great to say during a public meeting, but I can tell you, in the summertime, the people who were renting out the building next to me were, I'm fairly certain, like shooting adult films.
Annette just gasped.
You want to come over and look out my window?
My virgin ears.
I've seen stuff that I can't unsee.
What are we doing here?
Yeah. So, all right, so let's take a look at
Now a
those.
permitted use group as a home business. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
Is that the CEO? Is that the CEO?
That's not permitted under CEO. I can say that.
Mm.
In there, I want to say.
Liz, what days of the week was that?
You party at Liz's.
Oh.
Lord.
Someone wants to
All right.
reserve a seat,
We
Liz.
can't have some laughs, whatever we right?
Well, and I was,
I don't wanna ask you, how do you know, and you outside?
how do I know? Because I live on the 5th floor and my floor overlooks their rooftop and they have access to the roof. So sometimes they will have photo shoots with the women on top of the roof. And
Oh my gosh.
there's that. There was one day, like my Peloton is on the other side of my desk here, and it's in front of my window, and it looks, you know, right onto that building. And there was a guy standing out back smoking a cigarette, and then he saw me, and then he gets his freaking phone out and wants to like record me on my Peloton. Like, I know what they're doing over there. I mean,
Wow.
I really hollered at him. I was really, really upset by it. I didn't call the police, but you know, I do think I read that article in the New York Times that came out about the hedge funds owning buildings, and I think there's probably a whole lot more of it in our neighborhood than we realize, because they're two right there. And Annette, anytime you want to come over and look out the window, let me.
That's too much.
All right, with that said, moving along, so those are two legislations that I think we need to take a look at, but look like possible things we want to put our backing behind. So
And
let's,
Sydney,
yeah.
I just want to say, I don't think that they're time sensitive.
Okay,
So
yeah.
just to
We
moderate.
have a lot on our schedule at the moment, so yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, very good. Oh, Barry, yeah?
There's one other thing that's not technically legislation, but it is similar. DHCR amended the rent stabilization regulations. I'm gonna find the actual word that I'm saying. But it addresses something that Tiffany has spoken a lot about. I'm going to put the rent stabilization code. And so basically there was this loophole. The rent laws got a lot better in 2019. But one of the loopholes that was still left was if you combined two vacant adjacent apartments that were rent regulated, the landlord could set what was known as new rents or first rents at basically a made up number. And now the new rent has to be a proportional, like if you combined two 1-bedroom apartments into a 2-bedroom or 3-bedroom, the new rent is the rent of the original 1-bedroom plus the rent of the other original 1-bedroom. You can't like get some sort of magical bonus for it. And so it looks like I don't think they're taking public testimony, so we don't have to do anything, but this is a very good thing.
Okay.
Now, the only thing I will note is that the reason it may have been done in this code is because the governor didn't want it to be passed into law. And so she just did it. But whatever. I mean, here, I'm going to put the original bill.
Oh, sorry, I just put the article up, but you can. Go ahead, Barry.
Yep, getting it. Boop. Anyway, but yeah, Tiffany, I figured you'd be happy. You might. I'm sure you knew about it, but it was good news on something that you've spoken about before.
There's our clear again.
Oh, okay.
I see Cordell clears on that one too, Barry, so maybe they can talk about both those, or I think the most important one is the one we just mentioned, but, all right, thanks, Barry. All right, so that's, legislation we're watching, developments we're watching. Liz, you wanna take over with the ZAP update? Talking about, you were saying Frankenstein, now we're talking about zombie projects, which means, projects that we thought were done and over with, coming back from the dead. We have quite a few of those we've been dealing with. One is on 135th. They came to us a couple of years back, asking for a rezoning, and it's popped its head back up after we said, huh?
So, right, to remind everybody that this is 701 West 135th Street. This is what a lot of us refer to as Covo, or the old Covo. That's right next to the Amtrak tracks. They came to us with a proposal, I think it was pre-pandemic. And
It was 2019 sounds right.
Yeah. They did not have approval from, what federal agency is it?
The real estate, the railroad one, the Railroad Administration.
No, I think it was Homeland Security because it was next to a railroad.
It might be Amtrak, but it's the railroad authority.
Right, and so
I don't think it's in there.
it came to us, the proposal didn't have any windows on the west side of the building that would face the river, which would be the whole reason why anyone would want, I mean, it's a little tiny sliver of a building. Because I think the government or Amtrak, Homeland Security did not want people to be able to look down on federal, tracks. I don't know. They came back to us. I don't know, Signe, was it in 22?
I don't remember now. I think
Actually, it might be in here. Yeah, 22. This is March 22.
oh, there it is. Yeah.
Yeah. So this has been in the ZAP portal as an upcoming ULURP to rezone that site. You can see here there are a number of packages filed where they're updating documents and adding documents. You can see some of the dates on these continue to change. I usually poke into ZAP at least once a month and see what's in there for us. I did see that this under status said noticed, meaning that there was a notice of the application. I don't know if people from DCP can say who exactly gets noticed. I'm not sure if the community board gets noticed.
Yeah, the notice is a requirement by the charter to ensure that there is public notice on the application might be certifying. It needs to be out within 30 days as a minimum when an application is going to certify to get a heads up to the land use partners, so community boards, board of president, city council, everybody will, essentially the portal serves as a public notice of when something's going to certify. So this was certified in October 13. I believe when it's more than 90 days, we typically, re-notice something to make sure that this is getting out properly. But no 100, I don't know if like it's a requirement to re-notice. But I haven't worked on this application directly. I was manager for some time, but right now is with another planner. I recently talked to the city council on this because they had a question about the zoning designation and just trying to ensure that they were properly informed about the zoning changes that this district is coming on. There were some concerns about a commercial district being proposed in here. So, trying to assure that the residential district, the proper floor area has been discussed. As you noticed, Liz, there were a lot of issues with the application. That's versions of the file and use application in here. You have 2, 3, 4, and 5. Typically, we aim for only maximum of 2 file and use applications. So having 5 is a little abnormal, but it's also a reflection of your, the word that you were asking a lot of comments and things. So
Barry, do you have a question?
I feel like I'm taking crazy pills. So number one, Amtrak's letter was like, if you want to file this rezoning, go ahead and do so at your own risk. We may decide to screw you.
Yeah.
Yes. I remember pointed out that to Dan.
Yeah.
I have a question, which is, Liz, if you go to package version 5 and you look at the discussion of the findings, attachment 11.
Oh, it's gonna come up,
Directly
in a
down
different-
low.
no, it'll come up in here.
No.
Yes.
They're saying that it would be completely covered by a permanent platform. Isn't that for like decking over a rail yard, like at Hudson Yards or Atlantic Yards?
Mm-hmm.
So, como que like covered by a permanent platform? Like, I just can't. Like,
yeah,
it's not computing. In what way is there a permanent platform being proposed over these rail lines?
Yeah, I believe in this case, I'm like I said, I'm not 100% familiar with the application. So, I will have to definitely refer out this to the team leader and the planner working on this. They're not here today because since it hasn't been filed yet, it's not gonna come up to the community board. But I know you guys are familiar with this proposal. So
it was filed Friday?
No, it hasn't been filed yet.
No,
The notice is out, yeah.
no, the land use application was filed last week.
Okay, all right.
Thursday, but
it hasn't been certified yet, sorry.
But I'm not crazy, right? I know we're all like City of Yes these days, but like that says when a rail line or easement is covered by a permanent platform. We're talking Trump Place on the west side, Hudson Yards, Atlantic Yards, maybe one day Sunnyside Yards. We are not talking cantilevering a few stories over a rail. Like, what are they smoking? And this is Neil Weisbrod, who used to be the DCP commissioner. Like,
yeah, and I will say, one of the things, it has been filed. I don't know if it's gonna get certified soon. As you know, they have 5 versions. It's possible that the department might require another version. We have had issues with, the materials that we're getting and sending it back. But we will be aware of that. And thank you for pointing that out. I never actually looked at these materials. I was more of the management of the actual, process and keeping some things up to date when I took over Upper Manhattan. And this was one of the applications that, kind of stayed with the other planner. So I'll definitely flag that out.
Yeah, I mean, like reasonable worst case development scenario here is that they build something that could fall on a train. Like that's the worst case scenario. Like, what are they smoking? I'm
All right.
done. It's a no from me, folks. Like,
So Jose, if you could familiarize yourself a bit more and help us here. Anybody can look on this ZAP portal, by the way. I just want to make sure the members of the public here know that you can always look on this to know what's going on in your community. It shows you if there is something called ULURP attached to it, it means that the developers, whoever's doing this, must come to the community board and get some sort of response from us. It's one of the ways we can hold developers accountable. So take a look at that. Jose, do you want to give us the people in the room a sense of the timeline for a ULURP? I could explain it, but I know you have a good explanation, I'm sure. So.
Yeah, no, I mean, just quickly on this. So, once an application gets filed with us, and that goes back to the 30-day notice. So, if it doesn't have 30-day notice, it has happened to me as a, young planner, new planner on this, where we needed to certify something, but we forgot to notice it properly. So we typically notice projects early in order to be able to certify. So if it's a ULURP, the application will be certified under the review session, and then the public review period will commence. So typically it's 9 days after the review session. We send a notice of certification to all the land use partners. So typically it's this email where it includes the city council land use, the board of president, and the community board, and it goes in backwards order. So the community board gets the first 30 days review to issue comments, and then it goes to the board of president. Sorry, the community board gets 60 days. The board of president gets 30 days. It comes back to us for the commission for another 60 days, and it goes to city council again for 45 days or 30 days. I think it's 30 days. I'm speaking out of memory. But, that is the whole, public review. Typically, after like the board of president and the community board issue the comments, the review commission or the city planning commission can, take comments in consideration and request changes, request modifications to the application. It also goes to the city council where they can also make further changes to the proposal. But that is the gist of the public review. Yes. And that's for ULURPs. We do the same as we're doing right now with the zoning text amendment. That is a non-ULURP. We try to follow the same process, but the ULURP process is mandated by charter. So, if like we had the 60 days specifically, I only had to do it twice when a community board, for example, has gone over the 60-day review process. Typically, nothing happens unless there's a modification request at the commission or the city council. The application needs to be re-referred out to the community board, commencing again the community board review process and period, but it could be expedited. But it has only happened to me once. Typically, we try to be very clear about the deadlines, and community boards are able to meet those timing. When there is an applications refer out, we try to avoid applications referrals during the holidays and during the vacation time of the community boards. We try to schedule those in review sessions, or we are also able to extend the referral period for that. Not the 60 days, but the actual day when we send the notice of certification.
Okay, thanks, Jose. Jared, you have a question?
Yeah, I was just looking at this ZAP portal, and I noticed on West 145th Street, just north of Riverbank State Park, in Riverside Park, there's it's a yellow dot that says noticed, but I don't see what it's referring to. What does anyone know what that's about?
Liz is on right now. Liz, can you take a look and share maybe and tell us what you see?
What am I looking for?
Jared says on one, say it again.
Yeah, I'm just looking at the map. It's in Riverside Park. It's just north of Riverbank, and it's sort of on par with West 145th Street. There's a yellow dot that's, I guess, for something that's noticed. And then there's this list that I don't see anything that relates to it. So I guess it has something to do with the park.
A project.
Yeah, that's it.
But this, yeah, that's what we're looking at, 135.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's the application. The good thing about when SAP is working, it's really great when you can just, you know, do what let's just say by community board. It's really helpful, and you can also click for file and everything like that. It's usually not perfect, but today it's actually working. It has been updated. Yeah.
This is a really weird lot and a really weird address, which is probably throwing off the mapping widget.
Okay. Got it.
Because it's, you know, it's probably like 12th Avenue or something. That
Yeah.
Sorry. Thank you.
I
Oh,
thought
yeah.
you said 145.
Oh, yeah, it's totally in the wrong spot. Yeah, you're right about that,
Oh, look
Jerry.
at that, it
Yeah.
is. Yeah, you're right.
Because it should
It's 10
be,
blocks off.
yeah, it should be this building.
132nd.
Yeah, it's the
130th.
funky little thing by 12th Avenue there, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's this,
But
it's this little strip.
Right, but if you click that, within Solar, the tax lot extends all the way up. So it's one big tax lot that is being subdivided, I believe, or somehow demap. I remember that from the application. So when you go to Solar and you have the tax lot, that's a huge tax lot right now, and that's what is throwing off the map.
Oh.
So the park is one big lot or block.
Yeah. That area, yeah. You can check by going to Solar which ones are like the lots in here. So it will show you why it's mapping into that. And I believe there is some a mapping of the mapping action in here as well, to make some street or some road access. But yeah, no, definitely worth you guys getting familiar with this application because it has changed a lot. And even, you know, when I last touched it, which is the third review, so there are 2 more reviews on this. I believe a lot more changes have happened. So worth for you to like get ahead of the game before the applicant comes on.
Okay.
Okay, all right, thank you. Barry, I would propose that we write a very stern letter to Amtrak and DCP. Yes.
I'm talking pre-Euler. This should not be certified. And Amtrak should spike it now.
Jose's nodding his head, yes.
No, I mean, I think we had talked about this before, and we do have, you know, when an applicant, anybody comes to the Partner City Planning, the obligation or the duty to process applications. And I think, you know, that's part of the, not just the city of Yes, but that's our job, right? To move along. And I think this new approach that the department has taken on making these documents public is an effort to also show you guys how many times we might be disagreeing with the applicant, and this is just the file station. You know, remember we also have a draft land use, a PIS statements. So, you know, just to let you know, like how much talking we have been doing with this applicant and able to somehow shape this application to something that a commission might react to it positively, and we're still not sure, giving you your you know first reaction without, you know, yet following all the process on this. We can say that might be something that might, you know, not get approved or so, but that's our obligation. So we had done a lot to try to make this project a little more digestible, more you know, workable in the end. But you saw the letter from the Amtrak, and I think that the letter has changed now to another one recently, if I'm not mistaken. The council member has been briefed. I had, you know, shared my opinion with them in terms of like developing housing or so. I talked to CB12 about this project in terms of the decking proposal or so, and, you know, allowing this type of housing, you know, elsewhere than it's not in Jackson Yards or so, with the decking over things, and seeing if applicants want to do something that is, you know, because Jackson Yards were heavily financed by the state and the city, and out, you know, we don't know yet where it's gonna come up, but I think yeah, so we support, we want to work with developers, and we want to work with community boards as well. So I'm looking forward to hearing your comments and your definitely resolution on this, because I think it's going to be something that we can take back to our teams in future developments.
Want to, just for the record, putting it mildly, this developer initially brought this development to us when there was a sinkhole. There's nothing, he knows that this project is not digestible. So he hasn't come back to us, he's talking to you guys, and it's just an awful spot to put a development in. And that's really just the bottom line.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Annette. And that has a way of just, putting it there, wrapping it up with a bow. Oh, and now questions have popped up. Okay, Tiffany?
I can speak later because my comment was going to be related to a previous topic that we were discussing with private equity and hedge funds. Sorry, I didn't get a chance to raise it then. So whenever you guys have a moment.
Okay, you know what? Let's just go back to that for 1 second, if you will, and because I think we're done, and then we're going to talk about 133rd under action items. So what's your question?
It was more of a comment or a warning, because we, private equity firms or hedge funds are kind of the big, Wall Street's been in the game for a while, but I see sometimes a rose by a different name, will appear. And I'm concerned about a lot of entities that are hiding behind the nonprofit mantra, that are also taking over spaces. So like, BRC gives me pause, for example, but there are many others. So it's a little warning.
Duly noted. I think we've all had our fair share of coming across that. Okay. All right. So Jared, you're representing the public member tonight. We actually, Vic and I are gonna have, I'm gonna send you some stuff, but the board is looking at officially revising, we'll say, our guidelines for public members, taking some of our thoughts into play when we put our guidelines together. So Jared, thank you to the team and all of the committee for helping with that. I'm going to give Vic some, recap of, because we talked with Mina, the borough president, about, the guidelines for public members. The encouraging of public members is important, but there's some guidelines like you can't have more than a committee has, right? Not more than numbers and things like that. And then we can have our own guidelines as far as, they need to attend this many meetings before they can be considered a public member. There's other things we can discuss, so.
Yeah, I revamped some of the application recently as well.
Yeah.
Ours was very simple, I just wanted more information, background, their affiliations.
Totally,
So that's coming along as well.
Okay, yeah.
Combine the two.
Yeah, absolutely, I'll send you more of my thoughts, because definitely have some thoughts. And then Jared, because we have this huge ZEO text amendment, I'm wondering if the public members can be on call to help us, maybe if we decide to do a forum or if we decide to do something to help us kind of get the word out, organize that a little bit, since this will be hopefully a public facing thing. Make sure we get the news out and get butts and seats to ask their questions and make sure that we get more of our community into this forum or hearing or whatever we want to call it. Forum is, I guess, the term that we'll use. So just wanted to see if you're down for that.
Yeah, I'm happy to help.
And we'll see if maybe Tanya and everyone can help us out on this, because it's going to be I think it's going to be an all hands on deck. So.
Okay. Yeah.
All right. Next thing on my list is NYCHA. I tried to assign someone to go to the We Act meetings, Vic, and that person I will talk to you about later. Well, they have not been attending, so let's talk about it later. And then, are there any other NYCHA updates that anybody wants to bring up? Nothing specific. I mean, we know for a fact that our NYCHA, is going through the Packed Rad program, getting a private money getting funneled through to improve the space. And there's been a lot of back and forth. We've been working, in tandem, but there's goods and bads, I guess, is what we're finding from the tenants. Some are for it, some are not. So we are not here to, make any decisions for them. We've been letting them guide the way, but we want to make sure everybody had an educated choice on this and an educated understanding of it. So that was our goal.
One of the things I was trying to do for them was to put together a checklist, the difference between section 9 and section 8.
Yeah.
There are differences.
Right.
And what we've seen in Brooklyn, the NYCHA developments, the eviction rates have gone up somewhat in Brooklyn as opposed that are now under the RAD PAC program.
Right.
So I want people to know about succession rights. Hearings might be a little bit different. So there are some, I was thinking of a simple list at some points we could
That's a
put
great
together so they can see the difference before they step into this.
Educating and empowering our community with knowledge. That is one of the most important things we can do. So
there's a difference.
Yeah. Next meeting in January, Morningside Heights Community Coalition wants to come and chat with us. Of course, there's the 125th Street building Columbia is putting up. And there are obviously many other projects that MHCC is leading the way on. Barry, do you have any MHCC updates that you know of? Otherwise, they're going to come to the meeting next month. They asked to come and chat with us.
Just that there was a walkthrough of the proposed Morningside Heights rezoning area with the City Council Land Use Division. I think Monday the 4th, which I was not able to make. I wish I had, but that's the main update I've had recently.
Okay, well, we'll get more discussion with them next month. If you don't know what this is, MHCC, Morningside Heights Community Coalition is an organization that started grassroots in Morningside Heights when some of these institutions, what do you call it? The school, school sold some of their land and a huge high-rise.
JTS, Jewish.
JTS, thank you.
You both
Jewish
UTS and
Theological.
JTS.
Yeah,
Union and Jewish.
Union and Jewish Theological Society. They sold some of their land, and this is something that, churches as well as institutions are doing to make money if they're, struggling at times. Churches do this, sell their lots, and then developers, build, and they get air rights and various things that allow them to build high. And so Morningside Heights has seen some of its tallest buildings recently, you might have noticed. So Morningside Heights Community Coalition formed to kind of, monitor and fight back on some of that. They also have been very heavy in Columbia owning so much of our property and us getting very little say on what goes into that. It's always student housing, it's always this. What about, providing affordable housing for the people that live in this community? This is something that I know that they're leading the way on some of their work. So anyway, just brief recap of what that is. RKO Hamilton Theater Task Force update. I don't know. I don't have an update on that right now. RKO Hamilton Theater, you might know, is right on Broadway, 146. It's currently owned by a real estate company, Ashkenazi Development Group, and it was bought with a lot of other buildings in a big package deal kind of thing, and it's not a site that they're paying a lot of attention to. However, that was kind of a good thing for us when our fearless leader, April Tyler, who was my co-chair for many years, she passed, it's been almost 2 years now. We're gonna come up on 2 years, I think, soon. She led the way in being a visionary of approaching these developers and say, hey, listen, we have an idea. We've just put together we had a visioning meeting. We've got some ideas of what the community would like to see. If we can help raise funds, maybe get some public money, things like this, and maybe we can get what we want. And so they were interested, if we could find a way to make it a win-win for them, right? That's the way you work with developers, make it a win-win, right? So the RKO Hamilton Theater, the public would love to see when we did our visionary, they'd love to see the theater stay intact. Don't know, what the future may hold for sure, because we don't own it. But we have some nonprofit organizations that are interested in the space if we can find the means. So one of our community board members is heading up that task force. I'll see if we can get an update. So, Dan.
It's been vacant for the longest time.
I know, well, vacant with,
Well, but
leases of stores, but yeah.
The entranceway was.
Yes.
Zalmundo, but it was the upper.
Yeah.
It was Hamilton Palace.
Did you ever see movies in there?
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
Dracula's wives and all,
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I've heard people tell stories
know,
of seeing things.
The
like
bold
My-
one, which was about the boy with the bowl, the bold one, I never forgot that.
that. The bulb one?
My grandmother
Oh,
saw
the
movies
bulb
there.
one.
And
Yeah.
George Katzimatidis saw movies there. So one thing we
Wow.
talked about was seeing if we could get him to step in as a private contributor.
Yeah.
I mean.
So any and all outlandish ideas are welcome. Nothing is outlandish in this community. Sometimes we make our dreams into realities, so.
Yeah, the entranceway was the retail that I just alluded to.
Yeah.
But then the theatrical.
The jewel box we call it.
Part where the audience has just been sitting there vacant.
Some of us were able to go in and do a tour, and
Tour.
Liz, who's a preservationist, my co-chair, she was in there and she was actually quite impressed with the intactness of it. They've done some weird events in there, like a fashion show once, I think. People have rented it out. It's definitely, it's not an intact theater in full. It's, it's got some work that needs to be done, but it's not impossible. And we have to save some of these old theaters and find new uses for them for our artists, and find we talked about, putting affordable housing on that as well, that we had a vision, we still have a vision. So we'll see if Dan has any updates, but I know a couple of organizations like Jazz History Museum, what was it? And at one time Classical Theater, probably, I don't know if they're still interested, but there's been a couple of nonprofit and artistic organizations that have been interested to maybe partner on that. UN, yeah?
Yeah, there was a recent article where classical theater was interviewed, and apparently they're looking at another lot on
Might not have been going
141st,
fast
right behind HSA.
Yeah, these things don't always go fast enough for those
Yeah.
that need a home, so. All right, thank you. Barry, do you have anything on the till side that you want to mention? Got it. HDFC side, we continue to have our HDFC Resource Center, which Vince Morgan leads. I don't have any specific updates, but I know that the HDFC Coalition is working with him, and there's been forums here and there about important things for HDFC owners. If you don't know what an HDFC is, this is as we always have said, the last bastion of affordable, low-income affordable ownership. So these are buildings that were abandoned in the 80s and 90s, and the city said, we don't want to own this. We're going to give it to the tenants that live there for $250 or whatever, but you have to form a board and make the updates and make the renovations and all of that. So sweat equity was a big part of this. April Tyler led the way again on this. She completely renovated her building that her mother now still lives in. And she led the way on a lot of HDFC fights.
I met with Vince Morgan
You did?
last month.
Oh, good.
So we talked a little bit about local law 97.
Yes.
has affecting HDFC. So he's trying to spread the word about that.
Yeah.
So I'm not aware of that part of it, so might want to have to come and speak at some point to talk about that.
Definitely. All right, Ilana is not with us tonight. The Film and Task Force, TV Task Force was formed maybe, let's say, 6 years ago. Originally to try and, you know, find a way to create more opportunity here, when films and TV come to film here, make sure, you know, we try and benefit locally, our local, you know, they use caterers, they use all sorts of things. And then there was also, Ilana had a great win with, there's some blocks that get overwhelmed by these TV and film productions. So they had a moratorium on a couple of blocks at one time, where, you know, they said enough is enough for a while. You take away all our parking, all of this. And so Ilana started this task force with April back then. Ilana is looking for someone to help lead with her on that, because it's not been able to meet much because Ilana has not been able to devote the time, but it's a worthy task force, and if anybody's interested to help Ilana lead that up, she's looking for a partner. I will say that on my block, just on a personal level, if y'all notice that there are film and TV crews coming, ask for money for your local nonprofit or for your block association or whatever. They'll give you a little bit of money. Yeah, they'll give back. They'll give back. Don't be afraid to ask. I'll just, you know, go on, look on the notice that's on the pole and call the number or email or whatever the production company and say, hey, you're taking away our parking, you're inconveniencing us.
They call it neighborhood support.
Neighborhood support. They've got money set aside for that. So don't be afraid to do it, guys. All right, those are all our old items. And we are at 8:30, so we're almost done. Annette, you happy?
I am.
And you got snacks. The one action item that we want to discuss, we are also going to discuss at executive, because we want to make sure all questions are answered. Let me bring up, I did a little tweaking to the previous reso. Let me put it up on the screen here. Go back on this computer. So let's explain a bit what this is. Actually, right across the street from where we meet here in this building, 133rd, there is a lot that is used currently commercially for auto body paint and auto body work. The building itself is owned by Columbia, but the business has been there for years and years and years. It's got a weird zoning thing where half of it is zoned, part of it is zoned for commercial, and part of it is zoned for residential. It's gone back in the books to the 20s, where they've been asking for this special variance to allow them to continue their business on this site, even on the part that's slightly into the residential part. So that is the reason they come before us every 10 years to get a variance. The last variance, I think, was 2009. So there are a few years. I think COVID must have slowed them down. So they're a few years behind, but they're coming to us now. You have to go to the Board of Standards and Appeals to get this variance approved. And they've come to us to ask for a letter of reso of support for them. So I did a little tweaking. I sent it out to the committee. Has anybody had a chance to look at this? I'll share it on the screen. Find it. Yet again. Find it. Okay, you guys can see that? Is it big enough?
We can see it, Signe.
Thank you. So this, there was an old variance that I'm just kind of working as a draft. When we ask more questions on Thursday, we can certainly do more with this to make sure all our questions are answered, and anything that we want to put in this is addressed. He came, so the lawyer came to us 2 meetings ago to explain that they were asking for this variance again. We had some questions, particularly about the parking outside the business. There's a lot of double parking. There's a lot of blocking of the sidewalk. They came back to us with affidavits saying that it's not them, it's the title company. Well, they said it's not them. The assumption is that it's the title company next door that is parking there because there's no license plates on these cars that apparently are parked there. So they have 2 affidavits from the 2 companies that work, the 2 owners that work on that site, the commercial businesses. The affidavits say, we do not allow parking on the street, only for temporary, very limited temporary moments when customers are coming in and out and when we are moving cars around. These are the affidavits that they've given us. From a housing, land use and zoning perspective, we don't have any problem with them as a business. I don't think we want to stop them from their business by any means with a reso or letter of support. We want to support them, but we want to make sure that whatever concerns we have about the parking is addressed. So we also asked the committee, Carolyn and Solomon's committee, Uniform Services, which deals with the precinct and deals with, street issues and things, to take a look and help us out, give us any, thoughts they have and comments that they want to add. And so get the precinct perhaps to tell us, what the situation is as well. So because they couldn't make their Uniform Services meeting this month, Carolyn invited them to exec. So just that's a little backstory of where we are. Now we need to, they are going before the BSA Board of Standard and Appeals, January 4th, I believe. So they probably need this letter by then to present to the BSA. We need to at least review this tonight and give some sort of, in the record, yay or nay. We can't officially vote on it because we don't have a quorum. However, we take it to exec, we add whatever more we want, and hopefully we can take it to general. And we'll put it around by email after the exec with any edits.
So 2 footnotes.
Yes, Barry, and then Vic. Barry, Vic? Yeah.
Yeah, I have a quick question for Jose, if he's still on. Do we have to do a whole public hearing on this or no? And by public hearing, we usually would handle it in a meeting that we have double as a public hearing. But anyway, I'm just gonna say, if we have the affidavits and we can make it clear that we really need them to not block the sidewalk and to repair the sidewalk in front of the building or have Columbia do it, I'm fine.
So yeah, Barry, I don't know, when the lawyer was here, is that technically some sort of public hearing? Sometimes that's the case in our meetings.
Yeah, well, I'm not hung up on it.
Yeah.
Because we don't have quorum.
Was that a question for Jose though? I'm sorry, I took over there.
Was there?
I'm here. I'm just checking the actual BSA regs right now. I'll get back to you if I find something. And I'm gonna paste their rules, regulations in the chat too. So I use the Command F. So let me get back to you right now.
Okay.
Thanks. Yeah, but Victor, I want to thank you for sending a letter to the precinct about this. But they really need to. I mean, we don't want to disrupt anybody's livelihood, but at the same time, it is completely out of control.
Yes, I took pictures recently again. I met with Commander Stevenson recently. And 3 or 4 cars are probably out there now parked halfway on the sidewalk and halfway off. But then going up by the NYCHA Community Center, they double park both sides of the street, which means only one car can get through at a time. You have to wait, because I travel that street often. And the cars that I've seen have plates on them. So I can't say that they're at prestige, but they definitely have plates on them, like I said, both sides of the street. I think Liz had mentioned it as well, going through there and seeing the exact same thing. It's more of a danger. So I sent an email to Commander at the 2/6, I think Monday or Friday, saying this is something that needs to be addressed. We start giving our tickets, they'll move.
Yeah.
Or keep patrolling it. That could resolve it. We don't know whose cars they are or not, but I just looked at it from a safety point of view that it's a real hazard.
Yeah.
Speeding down it. It's
Yeah,
there
and
and Old Broadway as well.
Victor, we have a Google Drive folder full of photos of this.
Ah, okay.
Yes.
I'll add mine to them.
Which is what we showed to the lawyer and said, this is what we want to address, and then he had the affidavits put together that say it's not us. So, you know, but we can only go by
Yeah.
what they tell us, but so this is the past previous reso. I've changed and updated a few things because it's owned by the trustees of Columbia University. And I updated the firm that's representing here. And I want to double check when the application was actually filed, because 2019 is when it expired, I think, because it was 10-year variance, but they're a little behind on that, so I don't know exactly when they filed. Whereas said application seeks an amendment to reopen and extend the term for an additional 10 years of variance granted in 1926. Subsequently approved again in 53, took a little while, and then 99, another little while, then 2002, 2009. Obviously not every 10 years exactly, but that is what's required. And I don't know, this was in the previous reso. I don't know if an inspection is required or standard SBA still does that. We'll ask if that's something that they did. Current use, an inspection, current use of the property established that the premises is developed and operated in substantial compliance with the Board of Standards. That's for them to tell us if it was in compliance. I assume it is if they're planning to be in front of them. In terms of the 99 resolution, there was a 99 resolution about this. Whereas such resolution permitted the operation of an automobile repair shop and parking for cars awaiting service on the ground floors. And a use group 16B automobile repair shop with welding, body and fender work. This was the previous one, reso. So if there's any updates changes that we want to make, let me know. Whereas the owners of said businesses on premise have sworn in affidavit. I added this part about them swearing in affidavit that they do not allow storage of vehicles, employee or customer parking, or double parking on the street or sidewalk, except for limited brief periods when awaiting to be driven to the second floor for servicing. That's what they said in the affidavit, okay? And then if there's more to add here, after talking with the lawyer and hopefully the owners on Thursday, we can add. And then we can add a little bit here. I said, whereas the owners will continue to present no negative impact on the character of the neighborhood. If you want to add a little bit more about what we want to see them do. Barry, you had a couple suggestions just now that I think might work, might be good. I think I've shared this in a shared Google document. If anybody wants to make edits, please do so. That's that. Are there any questions, comments? I see something in the chat. Oh, yes. Thank you, Jose. Yes, you explained me, but okay. Any comments, questions, thoughts? We'll see what happens Thursday.
I think it looks good. I wouldn't put any of my things in this reso or letter.
Okay. Okay, Barry. All right.
I just wanted to say, so there was
Yes.
a comment about that being the ULR process. This is what I pasted was the actual community board review process for the BSA. Just confirming that there is a difference.
Got
Yeah.
it. I see it here.
All right.
May hold a public hearing and submit a written recommendation on such application to the board, or may waive in writing the holding of a public hearing if the borough board is involved within 30 days after the submission of a recommendation or waiver. Right. So it's up to us. Yeah, I mean, as far as I'm concerned, this business, we don't want to hinder them, but you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we did, Barry, we did kind of hold that public hearing with the lawyer when he presented, yes. So, and we certainly made our wishes known and our concerns known, so. That's that. I will leave that to edit as needed once Thursday happens, or edit now if you guys have anything else you want to add. That's that. I guess, can I just, you know, officially ask everyone to, you know, say they're good with this, put that into the minutes.
I'm good.
Committee members, you good? We're gonna just talk about this more on Thursday, so.
Yeah, I'm good with it, Signy.
Okay, public members, you good? It's not an official vote, but we're gonna we're gonna make this official after we talk on Thursday. All right, thanks guys on that. Okay. And with that said, I believe that is the last item. Any final words of things we missed? Thank you to the new folks that attended. Thank you to those who are tried and trues that stay with us every month. Daryl, nice to meet you.
Yes, likewise.
Thank you.
Great job.
Well, we're very glad to have you here, being a member of the community for so long.
Yeah.
We need your voice and we need you here, so thank you. And it's wonderful to hear old stories, so we like that. Please eat more cookies.
The brave one, not the bold one. The brave one,
Oh, the
yes.
brave
That
one.
was the bull, but he was in the arena and, you know, he was trained to bullfight. And at the end, it's very dramatic and the boy comes to stop him from being killed. He doesn't recognize the boy, but finally does. And it's a real tearjerker.
Wow.
It stayed with me. I saw it at the Hamilton.
When was this, like
This
67?
was, this was 1957.
57. Wow, you guys, that's so
I
cool.
never forgot that movie.
That's amazing. Well, Daryl, I hope you will continue to come and join us.
Yes, I will.
I love it.
Thank you.
With that said, who wants to do the duties? This is to adjourn the meeting.
Oh.
Motion to adjourn.
Well, seeing that we don't have a quorum, we are adjourned. Thank you, everyone. Happy holidays, and we will talk soon. All right.
Sounds good.
Thank you,
Well
everyone.
done,
Bye, everyone.
Signy. Thank you.
Bye, take care.
I'll send you my note.
We got
Bye.
through. All right, thanks, everyone. Bye. Dave. All right, cool. Yeah, this
Yes.
zoning economic opportunity is a piece.
See. 1200 pages.
1,200 pages, it's a big change. It's a really big change. All right, let me see.
Is there a deadline on it?
Yeah, by end of January, they want our,
That's Thursday. Yeah, for that amount of work.